Hello, wonderful YouLarp watchers, and have I got a little special treat in store for you today? Hooray! Look, I'm joined by someone some people might recognise, Mr. Oliver Facey, and
Right, how you
he
doing?
has foolishly agreed to come online and have a bit of a chat and talk photography with us, which is wonderful news. You poor soul, I feel bad for you. For
I'll
those
get
who
over
don't
it.
know, I'll introduce myself now. My name's Adam. I run a stupid YouTube website channel. Channel is the word I'm looking for, which is full of LARP shenanigans, and we do a bit of D&D. But my background is photography as well. So when Oliver agreed to come on and talk photography, I was super, super happy. I'm going to let everyone into a little secret. This is the second time we've filmed this because the first time the technical expert managed to completely mess everything up and the sound was rubbish. And it looks much better this time because Mr. Facey has brought a, what's the word for it? What's the USB
Capture
thing you got?
dongle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
capture
capture
dongle.
thing.
Yeah, which we can both
Better
recommend.
frame rates.
As you can tell from our beautiful camera faces coming to you. Yeah. Right, I'm just babbling, so let's talk some questions. How is it you got into photography, and more specifically, LARP photography?
So photography in general, I hadn't actually. It's weird. My dad is a professional photographer, pretty much retired now, but I never really picked up a camera. Um, it was only when I started doing LARP that I went. Someone asked me to crew a game. I went along as a barkeep and just took a little compact camera and took some photos that
Yes.
people quite enjoyed. And then the next event I went along to, my next door neighbour had lent me a camera he just got from his dad. So a second-hand Canon DSLR. Um, Took loads of photos and everyone loved it. So I started
Nice.
thinking about, all right, might as well buy a camera, and it kind of snowballed from there. And now I was doing loads of events before
Not so
lockdown.
much anymore. We're on peak COVID-19 at the moment.
Yes, yes,
I think that's a really good way to get into it. Like it it can be quite daunting sometimes, like when you look online or look at whatever photographers are using kit wise, to see the sort of value of some people's kits and think, oh, I can't do it until I've got all of this really expensive stuff. And I
yeah,
don't think that's the case at all.
no,
I think I'm a firm believer, and I know some people will disagree, that anything is better than nothing.
yes,
When it, especially even in when it comes to photography, I would rather see a bad picture of me where I'm a little bit out of focus or a bit blurry and think, oh, that is what I looked like at that event, or yes, this was this scene and this was a really cool moment,
yep,
than absolutely nothing from it. Um, and as anyone who has done photography will tell you, it's a very slippery, expensive slope. Um, what is that saying? Get your children into photography because they'll never have money to do drugs.
yes. There is that, and the other adage that applies to so many things, which is, how do you make a small fortune at LARP photography? Start with a large one.
I like that one a lot, and it's very very true.
It
So
applies
just
to so many things that end up as a labour of love, that you end up, just throw money,
oh,
but you don't
no,
have to. You
no,
don't have
no,
to.
exactly. Like just having that start to be okay. I've got this tiny little compact. Maybe not knowing really what I'm doing. As
Hmm.
long as I'm not getting in the way or having the flash on,
Yeah, yeah,
there's no harm in it. If you pop along and have a go at it, and even if you get one or two pictures, that's still one or two pictures more. As long as you've not annoyed lots of people or got in the way, then yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
So going back to when you started, it was more you were asked to go and crew, and you just thought,
Hmm.
well, I've got this opportunity, I might as well just see what I can get, or
Yeah, well, I was running a bar, so I was selling drinks to the players and keeping a tally of how much they drank. And I just had a camera with me, so during quiet spots and when there was action in the bar, I could just take a few snaps
nice,
of the stuff that as it went. So yeah,
yeah.
that was it.
Nice. So I started it. I picked up an injury. I won't show you it because I've still got it. And
Right.
I broke 2 fingers when I was doing medieval battle reenactment.
Oh, fun.
And then I still wanted to go along, so I borrowed my dad's Pentax ME Super.
Mm-hmm.
And did some pictures on there. That was a few years ago now.
Cool.
How would you try to explain LARP to someone who didn't know about it?
Oh, that's the age-old question, isn't it? How do you explain such an interesting and varied hobby? I mean, you'll have the silly ones like cross-country pantomime and stuff like that. I like to think of it as you're collectively improvising a TV program or a film as you go. Everyone is whatever star or character they want to be, and you're just improvising the script collectively, collaboratively.
No, I like that. So the reason this was a loaded question, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. So I had to, someone at work saw some pictures of me at LARP, and then I had to try and explain it to them.
Explain what the hell you were doing.
I was like, but the pictures they saw were from, it was from Green Cloaks.
Okay.
And I was in some like pink waistcoat thing. And I was just like, oh, you're not ready for this.
Aesthetics.
Yeah.
Green Cloaks had some interesting aesthetics.
So what I actually did was I used some of your pictures that you had captured of me, and then kind of, it was like some of the big battle pictures and some of the ones on Facebook to sort of say, oh, well, this is what we do, and focus more on kind of like the battle aspect of it. And then explained, well, I actually try and then stay as this character for the weekend and think, what would they do in this situation? And then having that kind of, being able to see it, I think they were able to understand it. And by the end of the conversation, they kind of said, oh, I'd like to give that a go. And I thought, oh, no, don't. Please don't. You'd be dreadful. Yeah, just don't do it. It'd be awful. You're a lovely person, but no.
Yeah, no, maybe not.
I might try and talk them into it still. I think it would be an experience for them once we can.
Once we can.
Indeed. Depressingly.
Yeah.
So this one comes from a rumor that I heard. Is it true that you did an event every week for a year? Is that true?
Almost.
Because I heard you did.
Well, almost, not quite. I think I ended up doing a run of 32 back-to-back events, or back-to-back weekends. Some of those had more than one event. And I think the total for the year was 40-something.
Oh, my days. You're mad.
So, yeah, it was not many free weekends where I wasn't at an event. I mean, I think the run started April and ran through to October, or maybe later, the 32 back-to-back.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's
almost
impressive. Yeah, so... And that's alongside working full-time?
That's alongside working full-time,
I love it. I had a month once where I had 3 weddings in a month doing the photos, and I said to myself, never again.
Oh, I'd hate that, yeah.
But by the end of that, I was broken. Working full-time and then doing that, I was just like, no thanks. But for you to do that many in a row...
Well, I found that weddings, while rewarding and still enjoyable, I find the processing takes longer.
Yeah, for sure.
Due to various things. Because LARP, I wouldn't say there's no expectation, but the shots you get, no one's going to go, oh, you missed this moment or that moment. Everyone understands that you're not going to get absolutely everything. So there's far less pressure when doing a LARP event than it is a wedding. So.
Agreed. So I had to explain this to someone from work. Their cousin, I think it was, the photographer lost all of the images. And I had to explain, geez, well, so with my photography, if you're doing a wedding, I have like a pre-wedding list of pictures that I will try and capture, and then you can add other pictures which I will try and capture. And if I fail to capture them, and I can't explain why I've not captured that image, you can technically sue me, and I've got to pay for everyone else to go back and then recapture that picture.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's different at LARP.
Yeah, my dad had a thing he told me about some years ago where he'd sent his lenses off for a service, and they came back, and it was the first gig he did was someone's wedding,
Mhm.
and it turned out they'd screwed up the service,
Oh,
so
jeez.
everything was out of focus. So I can't remember whose insurance paid for it, but basically the wedding had to be reshot, the entire thing.
Yeah, and
So
they're high pressure. There's a reason. I'm guessing you've got probably 2 million public liability insurance.
something like that. I can't remember what it is, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's in the order of millions.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
So then the flip side of it, so the side not a lot of people see, we've touched on it just a moment ago, is that time, total hours that you would put into edit. So let's say you did a 1-day event, sort of standard event, rough guesstimate. I know me and you edit in very different ways, and
Yes.
You're sneaky, and I really need to learn from you with a loop deck. Is it a loop deck you use?
Yes, yeah, loop deck.
Sorry. Yeah, I was.
Nice bit of kit.
Anyway,
so time taken. So I mean, it kind of depends on how many shots I've taken, but say, I mean, the amount of time I'll have for editing typically will be a few hours on the Sunday when I get home, and then every evening, Monday to Thursday.
Right. Wow.
Because then Friday I'll be off to another event.
Of course,
so
you are.
Yeah, 4.5, 5 evenings, and that will be fairly solid. I'll come in from work, had food by 6 o'clock. I'm editing, and I'll edit for 4, maybe 5 hours.
Wow.
It's difficult to judge exactly how long it takes because up until recently I've had a massive backlog, so all the editing just runs into I'm editing every night regardless.
Yeah.
It's difficult to work out exactly how many hours I've spent on each individual event, but yeah, quite a while.
But you're doing enough weekends so that you're not really clearing that backlog.
Yeah.
Crikey. Yeah, you see, I can't imagine that. I love having
although my backlog started in 2016, and I can't remember how many events I did in 2016, but it wasn't 35, 40. It was more like 20.
Right.
So I've managed to pack in more events in recent years and still not get further behind.
No.
So I've obviously got faster at processing.
Oh, for sure. Nice. From chatting to you in the past about how you edit versus how I edit, there's no doubt that your way is incredibly economical and very clever way of doing it. I waste a lot more time than you do. There's no doubt. But I'm stubborn. And I need to relearn. I need to relearn.
Yes.
It's one of those ways like, well, this is the way that I learned how to do it, so I'm sticking to this way for now, even if your way is better.
Yeah.
For anyone interested, go Google loop decks and stuff like that. And you'll see that Ollie's not using like a standard keyboard. He's using very customized equipment to really be incredibly economical with his actions and very quick. One of the other aspects which we touched on briefly, just talking insurance, but how much would you say it's costing you to do games? Is it?
Usually it's my transport to get there. Some games charge for food, some don't.
Yep.
So some will normally charge crew, and they'll go, well, actually, don't worry about it. We won't charge you. Which is always nice, given that I'm not just crewing at the time. I've then got, as I said, 20 hours worth of work per event and more to get everything all shipshape. So usually it's just transport. Transport for games, occasionally food, and then yearly costs, as you say, like insurance on top, obviously.
Yeah, too bad. Do you get your stuff professionally cleaned every year, or are you not? No, see,
I probably should.
Yeah,
probably should.
I looked through some of my cameras. Yeah, like my uncle is a retired professional photographer as well, and he would get his stuff cleaned like every 6 months, every year.
Right. Yeah.
Like, and his kit's immaculate. But I've never done it.
No.
I might treat my kit one day.
Yeah.
Give it a spa day. Mentioned earlier that when you started your first time and you went along with just a compact camera was because you were playing the barman. And I know you from Empire. I think we met, or we may have met before Empire at something.
I think it was, but I don't know. Yeah.
And I mean, you can always tell that photography bond. You can always go and mock someone for using some crap camera, which isn't a Nikon, which we'll talk about a bit in a minute. But at Empire, you play one of the magistrates.
Yep.
And do you normally try and play a character as well as?
I like to have someone who's there so that, because I like to sort of blend into the background and be sort of conspicuous. Well, no, not conspicuous by my absence. I'm there. What is it? I like to sort of hide in plain sight.
Yeah.
So wearing the kit that someone would normally wear. I mean, I don't like having to run around in high vis or anything like that as a photographer. I like to be able to sort of blend into just a background character, really. It means that if you're not directly interacting with people, I think that they don't clock you as someone to interact with. Therefore, you kind of sort of blend into the background.
Yep.
So, yeah, I always like to have a character, even if it's just a name. I'll just have a character with a name. He won't do very much. If you've got a Wild West game, he might get involved in a few games of cards or whatever. In the evening, he'll tend to socialise a bit more. But while the action's happening, while people are busy doing the important stuff during the day, I'll usually just be lurking around in the background.
Agreed. Yeah, like I've done some games where they asked me to put high vis on, and I kind of thought, well,
really?
I think it's different. Truly,
it's not like we don't know how to get out of the way.
Yeah,
we know how to spot a combat situation that's barreling towards us and sort of move out of the way of it. So yeah, and we've got insurance, so it's on us. If we're being irresponsible, then that's on us.
Yeah.
But to absolutely need high vis, I don't really see unless you're in high vis as a character. Yeah. So in fact, I did do a game earlier in the year in January where I was wearing high vis the entire time.
Right.
But that's because I was one of the helpers going around. I was there IC in high vis.
Right. Okay. No, that makes sense. From seeing your magistrate and the way your costume aids you in actually hiding your cameras, I stole that from you. So I've got my my kind of big overcloak, which Judith and Conrad, or Judith made. And yeah, I can just put on my kit underneath it and bring that round over the top, and I find that
really handy. Yeah,
it's brilliant. Helps a lot. And then this brings me to my next question, or my last question in this little run, which is quite a simple one, but also quite complicated, which is just why? Why this? Why is this important to you to sacrifice 40 weekends, evenings, editing pictures?
I know, I love it. Because I was LARPing myself for a good few years before I picked up a camera. And quite often you'd see, occasionally you'd notice a photographer taking shots, but and certainly at the time, the technology was such that you couldn't just blaze away, and you were obviously they were trying to get particularly nice shots, etc., and they weren't just going to get shots of everyone. But I did notice that it was always people who looked there was a certain look to people they would tend to shoot, that had the best kit, etc., and so given that I didn't tend to have many pictures of me taken when I started, it was kind of in the back of my mind going, I want to do this for everyone. I want to get shots of absolutely everyone who wants one. And I know I'll fail at doing that, because unless it's a small game, unless it's 30 people, then I can get a shot of everyone.
Yep.
But if it's a large game like Empire, 2,000 people, I know I'm not going to get everyone, but I'm going to try and do my best. Because I think everyone deserves a nice shot of them at LARP, even if, whatever the standard of kit, because even if you're wearing fairly bland kit, you can still look incredible at a LARP game by the emotion, how you're carrying yourself, etc.
Yeah, agreed. And I think LARP would, I'm going to use the word realistic, wouldn't, if everyone is super elaborate and an amazing kit and over the top, then all of a sudden nobody is.
Yeah.
And it becomes a little bit too much. And you can have that with your character sometimes. If everyone is super unique and super special, and there's a term for it which I always forget, then like I enjoy playing Third Guard from the Left is one of my favourite characters to ever be. And
you can have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, like my LARP personality from doing some stupid LARP personality is the soldier. I like to be part of like a big group and all kind of match and kind of, I think that's brilliant fun. And I think you're on the money. And from my own experience, you've got to kind of override part of your brain of like, okay, this is the punctum, this is what my eye is drawn into at first. I will do a picture of that area, but now what little bits can I pick out? Where are the other people? What's going on in the background of, oh, this person's wounded and this is going on. Fantastic. Oh, this person's now actually protecting this person and I can get a shot from, or, yeah. No, I really like that answer. Yeah. And I think you can see that from your work, that it is, you're picking out you're just picking out everyone. You're not looking at it thinking, oh, this is some super famous LARPer who everyone knows. Of course, you've got a picture of them. This is I've never seen this person before. Ooh, that's like, but the expression on the face or the look and things like that. Nice. Right. I'm sorry if we lose some people on this segment. We're going to talk photography for a little bit. I'm so sorry. So some photographers use superior kit because they like playing on easy mode. So they use Nikon, which is well known for being the best camera manufacturer going. Some photographers like to play on slightly more challenging mode, and they use some brand Sony, or I've not really heard. Is it Sony? Is that how you pronounce it? Yeah, Sony.
That's how my dad pronounces it. I call it Sony.
It doesn't matter. I'm sure it's going nowhere. So, camera of choice and why?
I mean, if we're talking about an individual one rather than a range, so all my cameras are Sony mirrorless these days. I started off with Canon, but migrated mainly because they did a camera that would shoot in virtually no light at all. And I love moody shots in tents with a few candles dotted around. You can get some utterly gorgeous shots. Yeah. With a camera that's good at low lights. So that's why I moved to Sony. So I mean, the all-rounder that they've got at the moment, which is the A7 III, is a great all-round camera. It'll do action, you can shoot battlefields with it, no problem. But it'll also do pretty good low light stuff. Yeah,
I use the Nikon version of that is what I use.
Yeah.
It's annoyingly not quite as good, but
of course not.
It's better. It's better, Nikon.
Let's be fair. It's the first generation Nikon full frame mirrorless.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Give them a little while. They might pick up their act at some point.
But I probably wouldn't have switched over to mirrorless quite yet if it hadn't have been from chatting to you about mirrorless and actually having a play with your Sony at some events.
Yeah.
And actually using the digital viewfinder and bits like that. And now it's completely changed the way that I'm doing a lot of photography and definitely shooting different since I've switched over.
Yeah, I found just showing other photographers who are quite wedded to their flappy mirror things, show them what you can do on the mirrorless, and they go, wow. Yeah, so many people have had that holy hell reaction. That is quite incredible, and that opens up so many possibilities. So it's really good just to be able to go, have a go, I'll talk you through a few things, and then they go, that now sounds like an interesting proposition that I might consider, rather than I'm going to stick with my mirrored camera. So,
I mean, I see a lot of the time, so I'm a viewfinder photographer, and that's just ingrained in my brain from shooting on film, from shooting on DSLRs, and now shooting on mirrorless. But I see a lot of the time that you shoot from the waist,
Yep.
which gives you very unique angles.
So yeah,
Which is
you can get lower angles, but also it means you can keep your peripheral vision. You can see
Mhm.
what's going on around you. Because if you've got your camera up to your face with a viewfinder, sure you might get a little bit more responsiveness. You might get a better feel for what you're shooting, but it means you're missing what's around you.
Mhm.
So either people are about to run you over because they're on the battlefield, some units just broken and they're charging past. If you've got your camera up to your face, you might not notice that, or you might notice a little bit later than if you're shooting just using the rear screen.
Yeah.
Um, so that from a safety point of view, I prefer to do that certainly on the battlefield. Um, and then also if you're shooting down there, so you can see what you're shooting, but also, as I say, if they're developing situations around you, so you could be just lining up a fairly simple portrait shot, but actually to your left there's a fight kicking off.
Mhm.
So if you're holding the camera up to your face, you might not notice that and might swing around later. Whereas you just got a little bit more time to notice what's going on around you and respond to it and
No,
react
I
to it
like
and
it.
get my shot.
Yeah, definitely an area I need to improve.
Mm.
Mine, from doing studio stuff at work, if I'm up here, I'm
Yeah.
pretty good at separating my brain and
Mm.
then looking through one eye at a time. I'm
Yeah.
doing a lot of studio stuff. So, again, it's those skills which have been, I've hit that kind of age where I don't want to learn new things. This is the way I enjoy doing it. We kind of mentioned this earlier, but so you started with this nice compact camera, probably £150, somewhere in the region of that, I'm going to guess.
It was a present. It was a present from my dad, so I've no idea how much it was.
And now, where would you say we are at now for the total cost?
Total cost, a fair chunk. I mean, my insurance is getting on the total insured value, and bear in mind that's because camera insurance tends to be new for old rather than the second-hand value.
Mhm.
So the new cost of everything I've got is getting on for bumping near 20 grand, I suppose. Not quite that, but
Oh my
I don't.
days!
Not everything comes onto the field because I've got quite a lot of. I mean, secondhand fairly old, but the replacement cost is quite high.
Yeah,
Studio strobes that my dad gave to me,
right.
so they have to be put on the insurance because if I take them on the road, but they don't come to events because I don't use
No,
studio flash at events. I'm not going to carry around a small generator, um, so I can do stuff in the field. So yeah, I don't bring everything to an event, but a good chunk of that.
jeez, still, gosh. But don't be put off by that. Don't be thinking, oh, before I can do LARP photography, I need 20 grand's worth of kit. You
No, you
really
can do it
don't.
far less.
Um,
Far less.
and here's the thing. So for your setup, you're using quite a lot of prime lenses from what I've seen.
Absolutely, yeah. I've only got one zoom lens. Everything else is a prime lens. So that obviously makes it more expensive. You could have a small, a decent zoom, and you could do most of what I shoot.
Yeah, and there will be some situations where having more advanced kit will give you an advantage where with the cheaper equipment you probably will really struggle to get it, and that's in a very low light when there's a decent amount of movement.
Yep.
But if you're shooting in good light, you could easily use a 10-year-old digital camera.
Absolutely.
And the difference in quality if it's only going on Facebook and you're not doing like high res downloads and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're not going to notice it. Getting a decent lens is always a good recommendation, like a nice 50 180 or something like that. Again, you're not caught like £200 somewhere in the region of it's not. Yeah, and you could even do it cheaper than that. I like this question. We were chatting for way too long before we started filming. We had a bit of a froth, which was nice. About the biggest failure for LARP photography.
So I've fortunately never had a card die on me. I did have an instance where my computer decided to screw the formatting up. So I thought I'd lost everything, but in fact, I managed to recover 90+% of
Oh,
shots.
nice.
Biggest failure's typically been, it hasn't happened anywhere near as much of late, is basically forgetting to change the settings for the scene, or having the settings changed by accident.
Hmm.
So when you've got a camera and you've got a wheel where you can change your exposure, I've had it when I'm halfway through a battlefield. I've noticed, shutter seems slightly longer than normal, and I've noticed, and it's dropped itself down to a ridiculously slow shutter speed.
50th or 40th or something.
Yeah, and everything is blurred because everyone's charging around, and so
Yeah.
you lose a dozen shots maybe. So I've had that once or twice. That was mainly when I had Canon
Right.
gear. My Sony's are set up so that the jog dial on the back doesn't actually change the exposure.
Nice.
So it's highly unlikely when it's bouncing around on my waist. I've never had that cause an issue. The only other times will be when I'm going from inside to outside. If I'm going into somewhere that's dark, I might need to change
Yeah.
settings.
Yeah.
And the only other one of late was when I did 2 events back to back, and I didn't copy off a load of shots from the card.
Hmm.
So there was about 10 to 20 shots right at the end of the first event I went to that I didn't get
Right.
because I ended up getting wiped. But yeah, that's it's just been keeping on top of it, making sure that you copy everything over.
Yeah.
I always copy everything from the cards and leave them until the next event, and then wipe them.
Hmm.
Which occasionally is, I've been sitting there going, "Did I actually copy them off?"
I've done
Because I
that
had
before.
yeah, I was like, "Have I actually got a copy at home? I can't remember. Let's quickly copy everything onto the laptop just in case." And then you get home, and no, you had them all there anyway. So,
Yeah. I've never had a card fail either.
no.
Which is, yeah, I've heard some horror stories from people having cards fail.
Yeah. I
Um,
tend to sort of have a rolling replacement cycle so that they're never too old. I won't use a card for like 10 years. I'll use it for 5 or 6 and then get a bigger one.
Yeah.
And then that just knocks it all down. And then the ones at the bottom that are more likely to start failing have been hived off and used for something else.
This will make you smile. I found an old camera bag. I think I
Yeah.
told you about this before, and there was a receipt in there, and it was for a SD compact flash. No,
Yeah.
was it an SD? A
Compact
card,
flash.
a compact flash
Yeah.
card, and it was
Yep.
2 gigabytes,
Ooh.
and it was £124.
Yeah.
That was quite old. I think that was when they just come out, because that would have been for my 1DX.
Yeah.
Yeah, crikey, that was a while ago.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, a lifetime ago, I was a photography assistant for a photographer, and he refused to use any cards bigger than 4 gigabyte in case they failed. So
Yes.
we had folders and folders of 4 gigabyte cards, and just writing on like what shots it was on each one, because he was getting like, you know what I mean, like 20 shots per card. Like, yeah, it was madness. It was absolute madness. Gosh.
Although these days you just say, "Well, buy a camera that's got 2 card slots
Yeah.
and write to 2 cards."
Yeah. So now you're just mocking my Nikon mirrorless, aren't you?
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. Despite the fact that their marketing department constantly put the boot into Sony for about 7 years, saying,
Yeah,
"Oh, we've got
mocking
1
you.
card slot, it's dreadful." But then no one actually told the engineering team to actually put in 2 card slots.
One card slot. But it's an XQD card slot, which is nice.
But let's face it, Canon did the exact same thing, so there's no shame attached to that. Canon did the same thing, put 1 card slot in instead of 2.
Yeah, indeed. It's not failed on me yet. What is the most pictures you've ever taken at an event?
Getting on, I think about 15,000. Yeah, it was over 15,000. That was the final event of Odyssey.
Jeez.
And yeah, that was when I actually started my backlog, because Odyssey, 15,000 shots, and then the following weekend was August Bank Holiday renewal at Curious Pastimes, and that
Right.
was another 12,000 shots. So, I mean,
What?
I managed to fill up more in terms of disc. I managed to take more photos that taking up however many gig, taking photographs on my own, than two people with video cameras managed to fill up cards.
Oh, I love it.
Silly, silly.
Yeah, that's some serious data there. 50. Oh, jeez. So
Yeah.
to put that in comparison, the most pictures I've ever taken at a wedding, and this was a wedding where I was there from 8 in the morning until like 11 at night, and that was just under 3,000 pictures. So that was one day, but that was 2 cameras, and it was a crazy wedding. And it was just under 3,000 or just around 3,000. So 15,000 on a weekend. I can't even imagine having to go through that.
And that was only a Friday through to Sunday event. That
Wow.
wasn't a 4-day event. That was a 3-day event.
Can you remember how many you actually put up from that event?
Over 1,000.
Yeah. So that's a good hit rate. 1 in 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it might have been slightly. Might even been a bit more than 1,000. I can't remember. But you usually end up around about 10%.
Yeah. Agreed. So if you think of all the pictures you look when you see this Facebook album come online, some will be ones which are messed up or rapid firing and little scenes. So you're taking 6 or 7 of the same scene sometimes quite quickly, and then you're just taking out that best one. But 1 in 10 still, gosh.
Yeah.
Um,
well, the kit certainly helps these days because you have things like eye autofocus and what have you, which make it, and you're seeing the exposure as before you take the shot, so you know that you haven't over or underexposed it because it's showing you immediately that you got it correct.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing worse than when you take a picture and you can see someone's expression and it's brilliant and everything else is great and you're just out of focus by 45 centimeters or something like that, or it's just like and then that's when it takes a long time because you're then like, right, I need to edit this and try and rescue this. Oh dear. But yeah, being able to shoot a bit rapid fire and especially mirrorless helps a lot. Your favorite bit of kit that you own?
Can I do cameras and lenses separately?
Yeah, of course you can. So Nikon Z. Oh no, if it was favorite you didn't own, it'd be Nikon Z6, obviously.
Yeah, of course. Cameras, I'm not sure, to be honest. They're all useful for their own thing, but I suppose the A7R is amazing for the amount of detail you get because it's 40 megapixels. Although I'm looking at upgrading that by the end of the year, and that will be to a 60 megapixel monster. So that's quite nice. Favorite lens. This is one I got, I think, last year or the year before. No, it must have been last year. It was the 135mm f 1.8.
Yeah,
it's so fast at focusing, and the detail in it is just unreal.
Yeah,
sharp as anything. It's lovely. Honourable mention to the 10mm that I take on the battlefield to get the ridiculously wide-angle shots because that's quite cool as well.
That's when we spoke earlier and said there'll be pictures you'll be able to get on very cheap kit. This is 135mm, so can't zoom in, can't zoom out, fixed, lets in a ton of light, extraordinarily specialised at the sort of pictures that this thing is trying to get. But that few types of pictures that fall into the remit for this lens, it's literally, there's nothing better than it, in my opinion.
Pretty much.
So I used I've got a old 85 f1.4, and I adore that lens. And it really makes me sad that it's not compatible. The autofocus doesn't work on the Z6. It's the old D series rather than the G series, and I never upgraded it. It's similar with that.
But if you're using low light, then you want to be doing focus peaking and manual focus anyway. So if you do that, then
I might move it across and play with it a little bit and see what I can get.
Well, worthwhile. I mean, one of my favourite lenses for a long time was an old Contax fit Zeiss 8514. I've taken some
Okay.
lovely stuff
Is that the silvery one?
No, it's black. I don't have a silvery lens, I don't think.
Seen it.
It's really nice.
Okay.
But yeah,
I'll have to Google it now.
And yeah, fully manual, so I have
Nice.
to use that in that way anyway. So
Nice. So if someone was just to drop $5,000 on you and just go, here you go, waste it on a new piece of gear,
yeah,
what would it be?
I don't know. I mean, Sony have just released a 12 to 24mm f2.8, which is a very nice zoom lens, incredibly sharp, and would be able to do those nice, not necessarily as wide as a 10mm, but very wide battlefield shots would be utterly a dream with it. So I'd have one of those, or an A9, which is an action and sports specifically targeted camera that will do 20 frames a second, has amazing autofocus, and is just lovely.
After you finished watching this video, go and Google A9 and just listen to how fast it can take pictures.
Yeah. Well, you won't actually be able to listen.
Oh no, because it's not the mirrorless, is it? No, it is the mirrorless. Sorry. Yeah.
And it's silent. So
I remember hearing the 1D, the Canon.
Oh yeah, the 1DX Mark III or whatever. Yeah, they just blaze away at 15 frames a second. It sounds
it's just incredible,
like a machine gun.
Yeah, couldn't get my head around it. Sports photography is horrendously expensive to get into it.
Yes,
horrendously expensive. And it's not like Larp photography where you can be like, this kit we can get away with it. Sports photography is, yeah. So your background is IT?
That's right, yes.
And my understanding is there's quite a few people from IT who like photography. I know quite a few IT bods who then enjoy photography as well. And there's quite a lot of technical side to it. But then the other side of it is most people who are in IT, you've got to continually learning because it's always changing. So it's not like, okay, I'm now qualified, I can take my foot off the gas a little bit. It's continue. So how do you stay on top of photography wise? Are you doing online courses to keep your photography, or is it just you self-taught your editing skills?
Entirely self-taught, apart from a couple of things that I picked up just watching my dad do stuff back in the day. So I just pick up a camera and play with it and see what I can get out of it.
Nice. When I first started, I watched, I think it was lynda.com or whatever, one of the training videos. A friend of mine had an account with them, and I watched some Photoshop videos on there when I was doing a lot more detailed editing, but not so much. I really need to get myself up to sort of the level that or the speed as well that you are. That's really impressive of your self-taught. Favorite photographer? Is there anyone that you look to and enjoy the way that they're taking images and either mimic or can appreciate from afar? Apart from me, of course. I'll remove myself from the situation. It's fine. Because that would just be awkward.
Yes. I don't know. I mean, I like seeing all sorts of stuff. I don't necessarily draw inspiration from anyone in particular. I might occasionally see a shot and go, "Oh, that's a nice one," but I like it. I enjoy looking at other people's work anyway.
Yeah.
So,
I think
I don't really have a favorite as such, but I do like just looking at other people's work and trying to work out. Usually, I'm working out what lens they use, what distance they were at, etc., etc.
Exactly. So this is one of our lecturers at uni, and he explained this, and he said the difference between a professional photographer and an amateur photographer is not the ability to take good pictures. if an amateur photographer takes enough pictures, there will be some good ones in there. But a professional photographer will be able to look at that picture and work backwards to work out how they've done it, and then put their own flavor and their own spin on it and make it their own. And hearing that was so you're not copying them. You're saying, I can see how you've done this, and now this is my style and my way of editing and my way of shooting, and now this is how I would do it. So the Oliver Facey treatment, or the who is Small Page?
Roy Small Page,
yeah. So he's got Roy's got his own real identifiable style.
Yes.
Of how he edits and processes images. So to be able to look at that style and then say, I can see how you've done this, take it back and then do it in your own style. It's not like you've copied him, but you're reviewing how he's done pictures and then how you would do a picture.
Yeah.
Excellent. Right. Shall we have a look at some of your work?
Why not?
Let me bring it up. Bear with me.
Still got it somewhere.
Yeah, I think so. No, this is the first time we've done this interview. If anyone asks, I didn't mess it up first time. Right, so here is the first picture that you've chosen to bring along, Oliver. Do you want to just talk me through this one?
So yeah, that's a game called Arcfall. Sort of sci-fi post-apocalyptic game, and I just like the sort of colouring in the background. You've got this nice sort of different shades of orange and yellow and green, and then you've got this guy who's obviously off to ruin someone's day with that machine pistol.
Yeah, for sure.
He means business. So yeah, I quite like that one. Yeah,
I'm a fan of it. It's, from what you were talking about earlier, it's a very different type of shot. So I like, for me, the thing that makes this picture are the gloves.
Yeah.
Like if he wasn't in those gloves, I think it would be a very different image.
Yeah.
For him to be in there, and then the machine pistol looks great, like the way it's painted and the little details on it, I think are brilliant.
It screams more Hitman than Thug.
Yeah, for sure. And the gloves and the hat kind of pull that off. And it does. It tells a story about what's going on. Like you said, he is about to go and ruin someone's day.
Absolutely.
But they probably deserve it. I want to say they deserve it. Yeah. Or someone's paid them to deserve it. Is there anything, if you could go back and reshoot this and get this in a studio, and is there anything you'd change?
Possibly have the gun slightly to the right so you get the separation, so it's not being overlapped by the shoulder.
Yeah, I can see that.
Possibly have him have the gun further back so that it's in the same plane as the back of his head. So you got him and the gun in focus rather than primarily the gun in focus.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Yeah, I think that separation would help it a little bit. Like the shoulder kind of leading into the gun, I think really helps draw your eye both ways.
Yeah.
But no, I'm a big fan of this picture. It's nice and simple, but clever. This is, I think the reason I like this picture is because this is not the sort of picture that I would probably take naturally.
Okay.
So I like eyes, and I like facial expressions, and I like using faces to draw where someone's looking.
Yeah.
So this is not how my photography brain works. But no, I appreciate it. It's definitely a good one. Let's have a look at the next picture now. Oh, awesome.
That's something else. Yeah. That was right at the end of a game. This was brought out as the sort of cliffhanger moment at the end of a game, and you just had this guy with a brace of pistols across his chest, the Raptor suit next to him. Apparently it was supposed to have sort of slow match in his beard, but they couldn't find any, So they ended
Right.
up just using some sticks of incense.
It works though. It looks really good.
But it works. It works so well. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a little bit of editing done because there was someone in the background at the left.
Oh,
So he
really?
didn't have to
Whereabouts?
be just in front of that rhododendron bush to the left of the tail.
Okay.
There was a guy
Oh,
standing there.
you wouldn't know.
No. Yeah, a little bit of Photoshop, and he's gone.
Nice. Yeah, like, I can never remember the name. Who was that street photographer? And he used to, he'd take the pictures and he wouldn't even look at them or develop them for a year until he forgot the story behind it.
Okay.
So that, and then he could understand the story it told.
Wow.
And yeah, I was like, wow, jeez. Yeah, that was something. And then when he passed away, he had thousands upon thousands of canisters of film. It was impressive.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So there's when any other photographers will be able to say this, when you edit a picture, if you can remember where the person was, you can see your own edit. And sometimes you need to walk away and actually forget it and then come back and be like, oh yeah, no, it looks fine. I'm a big fan of this picture. A mixture of the beard looks amazing, the hairy chest, the guns, the fact he's not got a weapon out at the moment, but the look on his face says, if you do anything wrong, I will have one of these pistols and I will be shooting you within it before you know what's happened.
Or I'll set my Velociraptor on you.
Yeah, and just watch from the back.
Yeah.
I've only just noticed he's got that extra pistol, the one to his on his hip above the gun. I hadn't seen that one before. It's just a gem of a shot, isn't it? And I guess you could achieve this. So, can you remember what lens you're using here?
Oh, possibly the 55mm f1.8.
Okay,
because it was relatively close.
Yeah, I was going to say it looks like you're quite close to it, which helps.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, I think it was a 55.
I think if you had used like a long zoom, it would be a different kind of shot. And I'm guessing the players and the party where he's looking are like to your right hand side.
Yes, right and to the right and behind me.
Yeah,
that's where they were. Yeah.
So he's got that 1,000-yard stare. That's an absolute gem of a shot. Thank you for bringing that one.
Right.
Okay, different. I like the look.
So, yeah.
Talk me through it.
Got, it was just a group of people on the battlefield at Empire. I love the fact that you've got what I'm guessing might be a bodyguard in the blue with a red gambeson underneath. The lady at the front in the red looking over my shoulder at presumably a large number of orcs. I like the fact that you've got the primary colours there, nice red, green and blue that they're all wearing. So yeah, I do like that.
See, from what we were talking about earlier, this is a technique that I like to use to where you're drawing where someone is looking. So the guy in the green, his eye line is almost as if he was looking towards the main target of your picture.
Yeah.
So he draws you in. So he's lovely, the fact that he's there.
Yeah.
You might not be someone you look at, but having him there is really nice. Yeah. A nice, simple, clever shot for me. Anything you'd change if you could go back and actually stage this and redo it?
Possibly there's a fourth person in there. I'd possibly
the archer.
Yeah, see about getting rid of them because although they are what the person in green is looking at, so maybe I don't know.
No, I'd keep them because it. Yeah, I think having the archer there, maybe. You almost want the archer maybe just half a step to their left and looking towards the camera over the shoulder, with bow getting ready to be drawn. So not up, but getting ready.
Yeah.
Maybe
like
could Yeah, exactly. But no, I kind of like them there. But it'd be interesting to see it without them there as well. So how about you just edit them out and we'll have a look.
Easily done.
Yeah, like a couple of minutes, right? Cool.
Yeah.
I heard you've got no backlog of pictures at the moment, so getting a bit bored at home.
Yes, although I might have a load of rolls of. I've shot 20 plus rolls of regular film
Oh, really?
over the years, and no one's actually seen any of the shots because I've never had a decent way of digitizing them. But in the next couple of weeks, I should have a Kickstarter product that I backed a couple of years ago turn up, at which point I might be able to start taking some photos of them and putting them up.
Oh, nice. We at work. Come on, Adam, speak English. At work, we had a for scanning cells in. This sentence almost made sense. But the quality of it, at its peak, it was probably good, but now it's absolutely dreadful, and it was just chucked in the bin.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing those. Oh, cool.
So yeah, that's an interesting one because you've got a sort of privateer, age of sail individual getting tended by a World War I medic.
Yeah.
So that's a lovely game that allows people to be from any time period at all.
Ah, cool. I was about to say I'm a bit confused by this one.
Yes. And it's got a bit of a Dutch angle on it, given that the guy on the ground is not straight, but that means I can get his arm in there and not cut the arm off. And yeah, I did like the just sort of juxtaposition of different time periods.
Yeah, no, it works for it. And they're both in absolutely stunning costume as well.
Yeah.
Did you put... is the light here natural?
Yeah,
or have you put that vignette on as well? Have you just pushed the corners, or is it just how the light was falling?
There's probably a vignette, but most of the dark in the corners is actually... Because if you look at the grass on the bottom left... that hasn't been taken all the way to blackness. So they were in a patch in a pool of sunlight in the woods.
Ah, nice.
And so that the darkness in the corners on everything bar the bottom left, that was as it was.
Yeah,
there's been a very slight vignette put on it, but not much.
And again, it's a lovely example of what you were talking about earlier, that sometimes it's not the healer or the medic doing their work that you're first drawn to where you're looking. It's the people fighting and things like that. But for you to be able to step out from that and then come and catch this great shot of what is really nice role play. I mean, I enjoy whenever I'm playing someone to get hit a lot and to ham it up horrendously, and
I've noticed.
I really enjoy getting healed. It's like something I enjoy a lot at games.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, exactly. Medics, it's enjoyable to be healed, and I hope they enjoy the roleplay as well.
Yes.
Oh wow, something very, very different here.
Yeah, so that was a shot of someone at Odyssey, and it was an interesting shot when I took it, and I noticed that we had this reflection off that muscle cuirass.
Yeah.
And so I decided to see about turning it into a silhouette, which was also fortuitous because the individual the photograph is of can't have their likeness on the internet. So
oh really?
A little bit of tweaking, making that nice silhouette. It's absolutely identifiable for anyone who is there as to who that is. But when it goes on the internet, they're completely anonymous.
Oh wow, that's clever.
So it must have been the Friday evening. Obviously, it was a sunset, so all that colour along the top of the trees that would be in the background and on the muscle cuirass, that was there originally. The lovely golden sunset.
Yeah. You see, I would never take this. Not in a million years. I know I wouldn't.
Mm. Well, I can't remember the original shot. I think I must have exposed it for the. I can't remember what I actually exposed it for, but yeah, it just ended up with when I looked, I went, I want to do something with this. Let's see if we can pull a silhouette out, and yeah, we could. So when I was shooting it, I wasn't saying I'm going to turn this into a silhouette.
Right.
I was saying I'm going to get this shot, and then I'll see what I do with it later.
No, that's cool. And you mentioned something there which some people may not have thought about, which is certain players not being able to have pictures of them in LARP depending on their jobs or personal lives and things like that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Online.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I find it. It's very important for me to make sure that everyone feels comfortable when I'm photographing them. So I'll always make sure at the beginning of an event, I'll go, right, anyone have any problem with me taking photos of them, and it could be for any reason whatsoever, let me know, and I can absolutely work around
that's nice.
how to get it so that they're as comfortable with my presence as possible.
No, that's cool. Yeah, agreed. And it's an odd thing to have your picture taken. You're losing a lot of power, and you're trusting someone an awful lot.
Yes.
Not to be making you look like an idiot, or to catching you in a bad light, or to there's a huge amount of trust there. And for example, I hate having my picture taken. I'm just not a fan of being in front of the camera at all. So I can relate to people who don't enjoy it. I think there's a picture where me and you were both at an event and we took a picture of each other.
Yeah, I think so.
That little grimace
that happens
before.
a lot.
Oh no, another photographer's pointing their camera at me. Brilliant, thanks. Okay, I'll point my camera back at them.
Yeah.
How are you enjoying this? You having fun over there? Brilliant, okay. I think that was the last one. Let me... so thank you for bringing those pictures to show us, Mr. Oliver Facey. It has been lovely. Those who don't know, Oliver has the most fantastic tips for anyone who's looking to get into new LARP photography. He's honestly whenever you see him, just ask him, what are the best tips to get into LARP photography that you can help me with? And he's going to bless us with one right now, which will just blow your minds. It will be incredible.
About that. Don't ever get caught on doing interviews with other photographers who might press you about your bloody tips.
There we go. So if you do get into LARP photography, don't agree to do an interview. That is probably quite a solid tip, actually. Yeah, no, it's a horrible question, and I don't apologise at all.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't sweat the details. I mean, do work. See what you can get, but don't be upset if you miss stuff.
Yeah,
that is as one that you'll always miss something, because let's face it, you are one person and there are 30 plus stories being written here, so you're never going to get absolutely every detail of them. So as long as you get some, that's cool, but don't worry that you missed something. Don't beat yourself up over something that, it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things.
That's a solid tip. That's good advice. I would say,
because if you beat yourself up about stuff, then that throws you off your game.
Yeah, you've got to be calm and cool. Keep that peripheral vision going. Don't tunnel vision in.
Yeah, that helps too.
My advice would be, obviously, go Nikon. And do it cheap. If you've got a friend who does photography and they're happy for you to borrow kit, do it that way. If you've got a rubbish little compact, it's not rubbish. You'll get good pictures. Just play to the light. Do it cheap. There's loads of videos and books online. I'm a big fan of Tom Ang, if you know him. He's good. He does some nice books, and he has some very pretty pictures and ways he approaches subjects. Cool. And his thought process behind it is as interesting as the picture itself, which is always nice. So thank you for joining us. If you've managed to sit through all of our ramblings about photography and LARP photography,
3 people left, I reckon.
Where can people see more of your work if they so want to, which I'm sure they do?
So on my Facebook has got all the stuff I take. You can also look at it on my website, which is gallery.oliverfacey.co.uk.
I'll put a link at the bottom somewhere, and if you look below us while we've been chatting, you would have seen lots of Oliver's lovely pictures just clicking over. And if people do want to support you, is there a way they can do that?
Yep, I've got a Ko-fi account, so that's kofi.com/oliverfacey. So you can donate as much or as little as you like, pretty much.
Nice.
I also do deals where you can get an entire album's worth of photos for £10.
Wow. So
rather good value.
That's phenomenal value. So, for example, if it was to be that one album with 1,000 pictures in it.
Yeah.
Wow.
£10.
Bargain. Excellent. Well, leave us a comment below if you've got any questions for Oliver. Maybe we could do another video if people have enjoyed this. I'll sweet talk him in now that there's not so much going on. Or if you would like to be interviewed by me, because this one's gone so well and we've not had to do this whole thing twice. And it wasn't more natural first time, I'm sorry. Yeah, Oliver's had to put up with me pretending that I've not asked him this question about 4 months ago and been like, no, I'm sorry, the whole thing's messed up. Yeah, give us a shout. And now that there's not many events on, and I highly doubt we're going to get many events this year, what's your thoughts? Do you think we will?
Well, I do actually have an event in about a month's time, not even that,
Really?
3 weeks or so. But yeah, it's a Wild West game, so it's going to be gunfights at range,
cool.
And everyone's going to be wearing bandanas, so it'll look nice and banditry kind of thing. But
cool.
Other than that, yeah, most stuff has been cancelled for.
I've got one wedding which is hanging on this year. I'll be amazed if it happens.
Yeah.
They've all cancelled, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Lovely. Anyway, cheers for joining us. Thanks very much. Cheers. Bye.